As rural Americans, we have a unique understanding of and connection to the land. Whether we ranch, farm, log, or simply recreate, what we do today determines our tomorrow. As stewards of the land, it's our duty to ensure that our children and grandchildren can enjoy the outdoors in a similar manner that was afforded us. Join the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and ensure the future of elk, other wildlife, their habitat, and our hunting heritage. Visit rmef.org today.
Thanks as always to our friends at Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and their support of all of the things we do here at According to Flint. And welcome to episode number 50, and a pretty special one for me. You know, probably one of the more common questions I get asked as I travel around with the PBR is about the Brazilian bull riders, and people talking about how many of them there are and how great they ride, and a lot of questions about that. And I've been wanting to get some insight from a Brazilian rider. And I went to one of the guys that he and our careers evolved together. We were some high points of our careers. We were each a part of those for each other. Paulo Crimber, who now we see working a lot as an interpreter, a translator, and now one of the coaches in the new team format of the Arizona Ridge Riders. So happy to welcome a dear friend of mine, Paulo Crimber, with some great insight. And all of that happens after a quick word from our great supporters, Pendleton Whiskey. Well, welcome to another episode of According to Flint, and just have been informed, episode number 50. And the 50th episode, I looked it up. I Googled it. 50th episode is the Brazilian episode. Paulo Crimber. Paulo, I got to tell you, we go back and forth here because we have people that we like to have on, and we've had a real wide variety. And man, I've wanted to talk about Brazilian bull riders, the Brazilian experience. And it's hard because this is an audio thing and the language barrier. And I finally went, I know a guy. Paulo can fill us in. So you're episode 50. We'll get you a trophy or a buckle or something.
I like that.
And
I'm just so honored to be, part of this show. And, like you say, me and you go back a ways in PBR and FR and stuff. It's just a really honor to be part of your show.
Speaking of that, when was the first year you came? When did you arrive in the U.S.?
1998. I just won Barretos that year, or second or something. It was $20,000, and that year it took $17,000 to make the World Finals. That was back PBR World Finals. That was back in money count, not points. And that was my first year. I went to Calgary for one day, stuck in the just immigration room because I didn't have the American visa. Our agent kind of messed it up. And we left Brazil for one day in Canada and turned around and flew back to Brazil to get our visa and came back to Columbus and then finals.
You flew all the way to Canada and were there a day, stuck, flew all the way to Brazil?
Yes, sir. I did. They didn't allow us to go anywhere from outside this room. We stayed there for me and Tudo, Emerson Leonardo was the first two guys to come after Adrian and Rogerio, and I was with him, and we didn't know what lick English or anything. I thought the round bales from the plane. I looked the round bales. I thought it was bulls. I said, "Damn, we need to turn this plane around and go back." And I just kind of didn't know anything, and we just sat there. We have so much fun just to being on that trip and see all the stuff. And the lady just asked us. We rolled it down. A friend of ours rolled it down the plane. We won. Chicken and beef and all those kind of easy words and stuff. And the flight attendant comes with the card and say, "You want chicken or beef?" I would say both, chicken and beef. And we got to, it was just a blessing trip. And I just went to Canada, rode my first bull, I actually bumped Adriano out of the short round, got into the 15th, and I won some money there. And then I hopped on a plane next day and went back to Brazil, and then got my visa and stuff, and almost have to kick this travel agent's ass at the airport because it was trying to kind of do us wrong. And I came back to Columbus, and I think I played second or third or something like that, and went to Vegas.
You were early on though. When people think of, the Brazilian riders in the PBR is such commonplace now. There's a lot of them. You were early on though. Adriano came and rodeoed, or went to the NFR. Were you next, or like in the order of good Brazilian riders that came over? You were real early in that process, weren't you?
I was the third. Rogério, remember Rogério, the big, tall, really like sticky guy?
Mm-hmm.
He rode Promised Land, Deuces Wild, Rampage, I think, bucked him off, but he rode like a Yellow Jacket. He rode a bunch of those big name bulls at the time. He was right after Adriano, and then I was the third one to come.
Whatever happened to Rogério? Because I kind of remember him. What did he just go home? Go home?
He just went home and found a bride, and she was on law school. She didn't want to come here with him, and she regrets that right now because she didn't work out very good. But he's a great guy. He's just ranching and doing something, living a life there.
Yeah. I should have said also, Coach Paulo Crimber, you got your Arizona Ridge Riders shirt on as the team stuff gets going. Real quick, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because I want to talk to you about some other things, but the whole coaching thing, here's what I think, and tell me if this is kind of how you went about it. The selection of the riders for your bull riding team, I see it. There's different traits to look at besides just riding percentage, buckles, this whole feel of the team who will thrive in that. You got to kind of sort through the guys that you think are going to thrive in that setting, right?
You're right, because you cannot just look into, like you say, gold buckles and stuff, because it's not about individuality anymore. It's about team, and that's a new sport for us. We've never been into a team event except the Global Cups or the World Cup. I've been to one of them back in 2007, and then that's just difference. And we try to find guys, lefties, righties, and guys who bound in as a teammates and just going to work as one. Because if everybody work as one, it just comes just like a link of the chain. Just put one after another, and that's going to be so strong. And a lot of guys, it doesn't do that. They don't play along with another guys. They're just so used to being individual. I think that's probably the most critical part of them, just to select the great guys. We came out with a great team. I think, where we were on the draft, I think we got one of the strongest team out there.
You mentioned this in what you just said. Fans, I don't know. I look at it as when in football in the draft, a lot of times they draft for necessity, not who's the most. The big debate is, do you draft for what you need or do you draft for the most talented available? One thing I don't think maybe the layperson, the normal fan understands is, and I got this from Brandon Bates told me, you're looking for, he said, I drafted this kid because he's a good right-handed rider, and they needed a right-handed rider. You're dealing with both kinds of bulls. So you needed to get guys out of what you needed, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. Because if you just go for talents, it's a lot of guys, and it's a very few guys who can ride just as good one way or the other way, away from their hand or in their hand. And it's kind of varies. It's either they're really strong in their hand or really strong away from their hands. And that's what we try to play with. But I think the majority of them, too, a lot of guys got mixed up. It is a big room for young talents, but it's also younger guys going into big man's field with big bulls, professional bulls, more powerful bulls it's a little game change. They're not used to quite as much. This is what I think, having a more a seasoned, PBR seasoned riders will come to play, and when the game comes in.
I already see some guys that we're seeing some results. All of a sudden, these guys are getting to go work out with the team. They're given the resources to get better. They're getting on practice bulls and getting some actual coaching. And I'm seeing certain guys already riding so much better. I think in the big picture, whether people like the team format or not, it's going to make guys better in the long run, which brings me to this. Why is there, I don't know if the word stigma or negative would be used to describe it. Why haven't guys used the resources of coaches, or coaches offered that before? This could be a real benefit here.
Oh, it's great benefit, Flint, for without a doubt, because I didn't have nobody. Majority of them didn't ever have someone to offer you a training psychologist or nutritionist or whatever that is. And those guys, you're right, they could have searched for that long time ago, because I know the colleges offer all that. They have coaches. They could have hired a coach like they hire bull riding coach, like they just hire a training coach, but they never did. And I can see, I approve with, I'm agreeing with what you say there. A lot of guys being part of teams right now, they're starting shining, riding good and get on their zone and just take more serious, because teams now, they have rules. It's a lot of the good stuff coming with, but they also have the rules and the stuff they're going to have to be up for to be on that team. And if they don't follow the rules, they can get dropped or benched, and that's not a very good deal for them for that kind of reason. That's going to give a lot of guys just looking straight. Maybe they're having a little trouble to do on their own. We're going to help them just get on the right path and just get going.
Accountability. There's accountability to your team. And I just see, I've gone back and forth on team stuff, and I'm kind of learning about it too. But if there's some positive, even that stuff comes out of it, I think it's teaching guys how to train. I think it's teaching discipline and that accountability. I don't know.
That's right.
We could have used that a long time ago, really. So
yep, we could have, because they always have this mentality. I was more accountable with my professional. I never went party too much. Always trying to stay focused on. I just battled with injuries a lot, but I never really, got out of track so much. But a lot of guys just do it because they don't have nobody to respond for. They just say, well, if I do this, I messed up. I just stay home for so long and then come back in. And now the accountability, it's going to be changing everything, and it's going to be for the good.
Do you think that the Brazilian riders, and now I'll delve into this a little bit. Okay. Do you think those guys come over here and they stick together? There's almost a team feel with them in the first place. Do you think one reason that they thrive and do so well is because they are accountable to each other? Like, that's it. That's all they do.
I think that's a big part of Flint. First, we do not have a second option. We do not have, I have sixth grade. I never even finished. I never went over sixth grade, and I didn't have another shot. And the injury stopped me. I found another way to get done, and that's how we do. We just make it work. We just always trying to get it done. And those guys living together, they don't have no families. We just help each other. They're kind of, already as a team. We are a team because we have this small Brazilian community. We just kind of take care of each other around, just helping in any way we can. And I think that's going to be the biggest reason. It is the biggest reason the Brazilians do so good.
Because probably one of the most common questions I get asked from people and friends, why the hell are those Brazilians so good? Are they just physically better? Are they, I think years and years ago, it was actually Adriano mentioned that to me, said, there's no plan B. Like,
No.
You come for one reason. And I think now that you've been in the States for so long, you understand what our culture is. Even me doing this. If this doesn't work out, this little podcast thing or even my clowning career, I know that there's another option. I'll be okay. I live in the US. I'll be okay. The struggles, there's almost an advantage to having a language barrier and all of that, because that is all they're focused on. Like
you're right.
And I guess I wanted to have you on here because you have such an insight into what the Brazilian guys go through. First of all, talk a little bit about, you mentioned it with yourself, what you went through and what those guys go through to come over to the States and settle in here that we may not understand. The adversity.
Yeah, it is. It is tough. Like back when Adriano and I came, I mean, like I told you, I just came to Canada and for one day and flew back to Brazil, and I didn't know any better. I was just excited for the trip. I just want to take it, and did. And then, I mean, I could have stayed, missed that Canada because I lost one round already, right? But we didn't care. I just came on, and I was happy next week in coming to American. And when I stepped foot in American, I felt that was my home. I felt really, I didn't understand none of them, but I just felt home. And I tell guys, I just love the culture, like the Western look. And I tell my wife I born in the wrong time. I should born on the, where it was no rules. The gun rule was the rules, and the handshake means the contract signed and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of just got me so just fell in love with it. It's just something I told my wife I never, before I was single, but when I met my wife a couple of years later, I told her I never want to go back to Brazil. And to me, going into the events when Adriano was not around, and I have to do that just to kind of learn, prepare myself for when he retires and go home. Otherwise, I would have to go home with him. I just go to a touring pro and ride the bull name in my hand, in the palm of my hand, and go behind the chute showing people, trying to find that bull. When I did find the bull and the intro start, I'll probably be in the last section 2 hours after I found him, right? And I'll be waiting from that moment. I got out of the arena. I have my boots tight, nib strap up, vest up, and everything. Just wait to put my glove on, because I didn't know any better. I didn't know. I just kept my eyes on that bull, and wherever that bull goes, I was just watching, just like a dog. And because I was so afraid to miss it, right? Mm-hmm. And now those guys, they come here. Sandro Batista, one of the members of our team, he never been here. He's arriving tomorrow. He's going to come in with the P1 visa, and I did everything to him. He didn't have to do nothing. He's going to come in. Paulo Lima's picking him up at the airport. He's going to Springdale, Arkansas. I left him some cash. It's already no trouble. It's just the difference. You see, that's what is so hard for those guys now, I think, to learn English, because they have so many people, like they use. I helped them, always did, and my wife helped the women's, like even having birth, going into the hospital, because their moms might be here, but they want my wife to go with them, because they feel comfortable with her, knowing she's going to understand what the doctor's going to say, and she treats them with kind. That's pretty big, to be not having no blood relationship with the person, and she chooses you to be in her best, probably the most important moment of her life, having a kid, bringing a kid to this world, and have you over their mom. It's really special, and that's what we do. We just make them lives easier. And I ate a lot of bad food. Not bad food, just something I was not used to, right?
Yeah.
Now I love it, because I didn't know any difference. When they see they hand me a menu with no pictures on it, I was screwed.
Hey, me too. Most of us are the same way. Hey, I go to restaurants all the time with guys who point to the picture. So
yeah, it's just crazy. But I found out later, Flint, I missed a lot of great deals and a lot of great steakhouse or good restaurants, because I see a McDonald's next door, and I just go to there because I knew order whatever I want to eat.
Do you encourage? I like what you say about it. You help those guys. It's a little easier on them than it was on you. But you were immersed in the language thing, and you had to learn English. Where there are a lot of guys. There's Brazilian guys, and I know they're good guys. They're good dudes, but they don't speak English hardly at all because they're not, like you said, they're in that circle. Do you encourage them? Do you tell them, go learn English? Because
I do.
It really helps them with the fan relation, doesn't it?
You bet. I mean, I totally tell them to do it. And one reason, when you move to a different country, you have to accept the rules, live by the rules, and first of all, learn to speak their language, right? Because that's me. And that's because they did invite us here. They have no obligation to try to help us. I mean, they do all the time, but those guys get so good right now, they don't see how special and how good it's going to be for them to learn to communicate and express themselves. Like you say, it's a lot of great guys there, but you don't know. We cannot have a conversation with. You don't know how you cannot ask him how your week went this week, what you do for 4th of July, whatever. And that's something they got so lazy about it because they have me or other guys to translate for them. They should do like Jose just did. Jose, it's one of the guys who impressed me the most because I learned really quick and so is he, but him having me and a lot of people, I didn't have nobody, right? And him having all me and all the help, he learned really fast. And that shows how much does he want to. That's what they need to understand. It's not just come here and win money and do all this. They need to be respectful enough to learn their language and say, hey, how are you? Or, how are you doing? Whatever it is. I think that's really important for them, not just respectful for their sponsorships to talk to you or with the reporter, whatever that is.
They say, how are you? How are you, buddy? Hey, buddy. Everybody, every single one of them.
Buddy.
There must be some handbook that when you come from Brazil, hey, buddy. Remember Guilherme when he came over, and I remember he didn't speak any English, and he had a dog, and the dog's name was Buddy because he could say, "Hey, buddy."
Come here. Yeah, it's just funny. You're right. They just get so. They hear, Brazilians are quick learners if they want to because the hard life we have and everything we have to go through to make it work. But a lot of those guys just get lazy. That's how it is. Because one thing I'd say, Flint, in this country, the only people who doesn't make over here, it's lazy people because it's plenty work. It's plenty jobs for whoever wants to work. Maybe not be what you want to do, but it is jobs. Yeah. And I tell them when I see some of them, the Brazilians too, some of them just, I'm going to a hard time. If they're injured, that's a different deal. No, get me wrong. That's a different prospect. They cannot do it. But if they're just there and say they're going, they're hurting for money, I call them straight up. I say, because you're lazy. You're just sitting on your ass. Just go get yourself a job and go to work. And most times I hire them and help, it's just how it is.
Hey, matter of fact, I made fun of him to his face the other day, Silvano. I'm like, Silvano, you can't keep pretending you don't speak English. Like we joke that Silvano Alves made a living out of pretending he didn't speak English. We always said that he got to avoid media stuff. Funny when I see you at the bar and we're standing there. You speak great English. I'll tell you who we used to, not to reminisce, but Renato was classic. Where you're like, he barely speaks English, and then he'd go talk to a lady and be like, "Hey, how you doing? Good." Like, what? Wait a second.
That's great.
I do remember. I think it was Adriano came to me when you were first starting to do well. By the way, I looked it up. Your career riding percentage was 51%. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
That's really good. Like you're really.
It is.
Paulo, you were pretty good. Nice work.
I was. I think I was. It's just. I mean, I know I wasn't. I mean, every time I nod my head, I did. I give my 100%. I never hold anything back, and that's what it means to me. You know, the injury came along, and that's what's kind of got in the way, and that was God have different plans, and I was happy with what I got. You know, I got done.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, I remember Adriano came to me and said, "This is Paulo," and you were just standing there smiling, and he said, "Paulo's a good dancer." I said, "Yeah, whatever." He said, "No, he's a good dancer." And you broke out your little break dancing thing. And I went, "Oh," so I communicated with you through him.
The dancing.
To say you were like the first kind of planned celebration. And it was because he came to me and said, so you and I communicated, and I said, when you ride, well, and so we always faced each other.
Yeah.
Remember that? It was
the very first time I watched it the other day. I was watching some old, 98 rides, and I was shy. I was happy because I stay on, and then you jump off your barrel and walk up to me and pointed and kind of did what you just say, and that from that moment on, we did it for a while, and then I quit it to doing, and all the fans started asking, and then I went back, and I think that was my way. Before I learned to speak with them, that was my way to appreciate them and just say, hey, thank you guys for coming and enjoying the show, enjoying us, and coming to watch us. That was my way to communicate.
It was here. You do this, right?
Yeah, I did this, and then I go back. And, yes, sir.
It was classic. You may not know this. Okay, you won. I think people forget this. You won the event title at the National Finals Rodeo. What year was that?
Yes, sir.
I was there.
2004.
To 2004, second to the last year.
Yep.
That I did it. We used to have meetings in my position. I was the barrel man there, and we used to have all kinds of meetings, what we could and couldn't do. Mostly at the NFR in my job, it was what I couldn't do. But They started, the bosses, Sean Davis, Benny Butler, those guys, they started to trust me and let me do more than most barrel men at the NFR. And in a meeting, I raised my hand. I said, I have a question. I said, Paulo Crimber is here. And through all the PBRs, and I don't know if you know that, they didn't really care because they didn't really like the PBR. But I said, we do this thing, and I want to know that if he rides a bull, I want to get out of the barrel and go do it. And they thought, and they said, yeah, the fans really love it. That's okay. I got the okay on that, and that was a big deal.
Yeah, I remember.
That was a big deal.
That was. I mean, just see people, a lot of people came to me and said, hey, this is the best NFR from a long, long time. We have so much fun seeing you dancing. And I, that was just amazing. And then you remember one day I was doing the victory lap and the saddle kind of slides to the side and the horse started bucking halfway out to the arena. And by the time I got, he got to the out gate, I was kind of got off in the fence and I went back in and did it again. That was just something so amazing. We enjoy it. And that was probably one of the best times in my life. I wish I went more times to the NFR. That was a good experience for me to see all that. And that was great.
How many bulls did you ride in that 10 days?
I think it was eight bulls.
8 out of 10.
Or 7. Yeah, I think it was 8 out of 7. Yeah.
You wear it.
I have my riding hand was broken. I broke it a month before at the World Finals. And then they have to kind of one day, it was just a lot of people just came in during the day, seeing me kind of how big it was and how sore I was. They gave me horse like creams to put it on and just trying to help me get by. And Tandy and the sports medicine worked on me every day. That was pretty good.
Hey, you wear that NFR buckle sometimes, don't you? Look at you got it on right now. I knew I had seen it. I'll tell you, I wear, and we ask, I did it. Our last episode here was Trevor Brazil. So look, you're following Trevor Brazil. And we had him show the buckle he was wearing, and it was a custom built, real cool. But I've really got into that at the PBR World Finals this year on my little stage show. I'd have the guys say, what buckle are you wearing and why? And I kind of go back and forth, and I wear the NFR ones a lot because I think that NFR badge is really signifies that you've been, it's probably the most recognizable buckle, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And also it's just the golden looking, old kind of style looking. It just kind of, that's what I like the most. And it just looks really cowboy kind of, it means, like you say, it's a recognition. You've done something really great. And I have a lot of PBR really great buckles too. New York City, the very first event at the Madison Square Garden, I won that. And just a lot of just regular season events, the Global Cup event in 2007. I won a bunch different ones, but this NFR, it's just it's something special to it. I just really liked it. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, me too. There's something I don't know. Every buckle has a story, and everybody. It's funny because I asked those riders at Vegas, and I remember Cody Teal, Derek Kolbaba. They point out their buckle and then they don't just say, I'm wearing this one. They'd say it. I wouldn't even have to ask them. They'd just tell the story of why it meant something to them.
And this one, I think, like you say that, I didn't want to take too much time, but this one is, I think this is mean the most for me, Flint, because having your riding hand broken and you have to ride 10 rounds at the NFR and be able to win, that was something I kind of remember kind of showing me, and you keep me reminding how tough that was, because some days I want to cry like that just when I start pulling my rope, and that's just hurting so bad, and I have to deal with that pain and block that off and get the job done and worry about the pain later. That meant so much to me, because that was a hard one to get, and I got it, with the broken riding hand. That was really mean a lot to me, how tough I was and how much, not just physically, just mental toughness, and that kind of got a special meaning to me.
I also, I wasn't going to tell you why I remember this, but I also remember that year they used to have the Dodge Series, and you were the Dodge. You got a truck that year.
I did. Yeah. I went to, that was kind of funny deal. A bareback rider from Brazil came and started rodeoing, and he told me, because I always like to get on a lot of bulls, and I was not having that. And every time I tried to, I have to pay $20, and the bull sucks. It's just a bunch of mean young bulls. And I said, well, it's just tough. And then I start rodeo. He told me to start buying the PRCA card, start rodeoing just locally, just to get on more bulls. And I start hitting every day, every event they have, 500 to whatever, 3,000 to 5,000 added I went to. And I won so many. 1 week I won 6 of them. And I was lucky to draw the rankest 89 or 88 point bull that event. And then I like to enter to the special sections because they have a $500 bonus or something. And I was just all over, and I went so much. And towards the end of them, I won over 50,000 just in Texas. And they say, hey, you got a chance to shot to go to the NFR. And I thought, you really? I didn't know much about it. But I know that was a dumb try, because I just got myself hurt because I was traveling back and forth and not sleeping, not eating. That was bad. But I mean, and then by the end of the year, I just received this phone call. Hey, you want a truck? I said, what do you mean I want a truck? And I didn't do it. I didn't bet on anything. I didn't do nothing.
You thought you were back in Brazil. They're giving you trucks and motorcycles.
Yeah, I know. No, in Brazil, I won a bunch, but not here. So no, you won the Dodge Series in Texas, the highest point guy here, blah blah blah. And they told me to choose one, and I just always want to have a dually with the double wheel on the back. Just kind of big, and they got my name on it, the PRCA logo. That was great. And I got a camper off the deck. I put a camper on.
Well,
I was a official rodeo guy.
I'll tell you, I'll reveal something, probably pretty confidential. I'm not going to tell you who it was, but I was in a similar meeting with all the bigwigs of the NFR, and they were talking about Dodge Night, where they line up in the arena every person that won the Dodge Series and won the truck. And they enter at one performance. And I'm in a meeting, and this person in charge said, well, we ain't introducing that bull rider. He's a PBR guy. They don't introduce our guys. And I went, whoa. You're
They
wrong.
do introduce.
Yeah, and no kidding, that came up in an NFR meeting.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah,
no
because
way
they did not introduce me for
well,
that. I don't think.
well, I thought there
Yeah,
was a
the
night.
NFL.
It came up, and I'm like, did that just get said in a meeting? I'm here. What? You know?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anyway,
Yeah. That's just what I wish they just kind of, change their mind about it, because the sport is so great, and we respect each other so much, and like how everything I have and everything I've been and what I do here today, just the fact I'm here today talking to you, I owe to the PBR.
Yeah.
And I have so much respect for the NFR. Like you say, I wear the NFR buckle. I think that got nothing to do. I've been to the PBR final so many times, and I should have been wearing a PBR buckle, but it's not that. It's just, to me, it's all the same. It's the whatever the best two worlds from the sports Western, and that's what we should see. About.
I agree. I've said that a long time. I don't care. A great bull rider is a great bull rider. I think Sage Kimsey is amazing. I think Josh Frost is amazing. I've named rodeo guys. They just choose. They love rodeoing. It's not contestants and riders. It's guys in sport coats. And so we're all our world is too, I don't say delicate, but limited and disappearing, the Western lifestyle. We got to stick with each other. We're all playing the same game here. We're all wearing the same hats.
We all wear the hats and all that. And at the end of the day, Flint, we do not compete against each other. Like we say, we have to ride our bulls and just get it done. And I promise you, one day, if you need it there, a lot of those guys going to be there for you. And that's how it is. That's the beauty about everything. The rodeo family, the West sport world is just so amazing, because they probably don't know you and never see you, but if you need it, they're going to be there for you. I remember at the NFR, my guy pulling my rope was a great bulldogger from Wyoming.
They'd always go back.
That was just awesome. I was so thrilled with that. That was amazing.
Who was it? Do you remember who it was?
Man, I don't remember his name. It was a big white, like Wyoming with the mustache, kind of cowboy looking shit. I forgot his name.
I could probably name him, and it just left me.
I know his name, but I just cannot remember. Every time I need to, I just forget for some reason.
So here's what's gonna happen right now, right off camera. Logan, my man Logan, I'm gonna have him Google 2004 NFR steer wrestlers and look at who's from Wyoming. And I'm going to see if it was. He's doing it right now. We're going to figure it out.
Okay. It's he got a big mustache, a big guy.
Look at he's looking right now. Is there any from Wyoming? There is one. I know who it is too, but I can't.
I just cannot. His name.
Hold on. Oh, he'll get me. Hey, for fans' sake, watching this, and you know that you and I are in conversation. We don't always talk about this because bull riding becomes what? Stephen Campbell? No. Who?
No.
Randy's son?
No. There's a Randy something.
I think it's Randy something. Yeah, it is.
Randy Soon. S-U-H-N. Randy. There was Todd and Randy Soon from Wyoming. Yeah. There's one more. Big Jason. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm embarrassing the guy. I have so much respect, and I cannot just come up with his name.
I could probably look at the list. He might have
when I see him, I know him. I'll shake his hand just like with the respect I have for him to be there for me every night.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we don't always talk about it because bull riding does become kind of, we don't sit around and talk about bulls and bull riding, in our world. But for fans' sake, tell me a couple, or maybe one memorable or a couple through your PBR career, a well-known bull or maybe not so well-known that maybe you think is one of the best rides you ever made or most memorable rides you ever made. Do a couple stand out that you can remember.
Okay. One of them, I think the very first one was Jack Daniels Happy Hour. I was the first guy to ride him in 2001 at the World Finals, short round, the last round.
Huh.
And I went to the side, and he bucked off Adriano, Troy Dunn, Ty Murray, all the big name guys. I always watch it, and I was impressed to be riding, with them. And I draw him, and he was Grasshopper's son, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yep, he went kind of real long and kind of square, and I was the first man to ride. He was Freddie Cordell owner.
Yep.
And I went to the side, and everybody thought I think one of the guys was sitting next to him. I think it was a judge, Donald Owen. And he heard it say, Freddie say, bye-bye, Paulo. And then I just sat back in the middle of him, and it just drove him. And he'd say, hello, Paulo. Yeah, it was just a joke, him behind the cheeks now. But him, Blueberry Wine, was really special to ride him because he was so little. And that little bull has so big of a heart. I mean, that bull never quit. He just hard as a rock. His body just it was really nice. Hammer, Big Brindle bucked me off 4 times, and I rode him at the World Finals before the NFR in 2004 with my broken hand the very next day. And I have to change a little bit, the way to get riding and worked out. It was one of the favors, I think, those 4 bulls there probably, And then at the NFR, Mr. USA, that's one of my round winners. Black Sabbath, I won a round on him too. It was I can't remember the names up the other 2. Big Bad Company bull, Hammer Time, big black high horn bull I rode at the 10th round at the NFR. Those bulls, they're like the Hammer Time was not ridden for 380 something times, and I was able to ride him. And he bucked me off once in Austin, Texas. And that was pretty great. That was those bulls. That's a lot of them, but those probably sticks out a little more,
I think,
than every other one.
I said this earlier with your riding percentage, and even myself, because I see you a lot now in a different aspect, and I think people forget how good the bulls you rode.
Yeah. I think so too. Cody Lambert say the other day, and I think it's true. People see me for the translator now, and they kind of forget who I was as a bull rider. I sent him this video. I'll send it to you in a minute. That was my son found it, and he sent it to me. I was just coming back from the ranch, and he sent this text, and I opened him up. It was the Jack Daniels Happy Hour second time, because I was the only one I was the first one to ride him, and the only one to ride him twice. And they retired him after I rode him the second time. I think Fred Cordell was going to have a heart attack if he ride him the third time. But, he bucked really hard the second time, and I was 92.5. I won the round at the Eliminator Pen. Both times wasn't. And it was a bull. I think it was the very second bull I got on at the World Finals in Las Vegas in 1998. His name was Lawman. And I won the ranked pen round in Las Vegas in 1998. And then I rode him in the short round at Madison Square Garden for the first event ever at Madison Square Garden.
Yep. You said that people know you as a translator. Did you ever hear, we had a guy on our crew, Big Jake. Remember Jake, the big redhead?
Yeah, Big Jake. You bet.
Mulberg.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard him imitate you? Have you ever?
Yes, like with my hands. Yeah.
And he does. He used to stand beside me and do the translation where he'd just make it up, and he does your little because I tell people all the time, Paulo Crimber has the greatest accent ever. It's a combination between a Brazilian and a Texan, because you learned to speak English in Texas, and Jake could. He just ride him.
It's amazing.
God, good, just thank God that I'm here. He used to do the whole.
And it's funny because I think I came to be a mimic because among the Brazilians, every one of them imitates me. Luciano, Danner, like even John, my son, and Balderon's boy. I mean, it's everyone. They talk to each other like me. It's just fun. I say, you know what? I think it's just a compliment. I'm different from everybody else. I don't care. I got my own style,
You
my
do.
own way to talk, and that's me.
Well, it's funny.
Uh,
You bring up all those names, and it makes me, earlier when we were talking about,
ask them when you see them. Ask Luciano to talk like me or Dan. Dan is going to be, Luciano and Cheyenne. Ask him.
I will. Because we talk about those guys learning English so we can learn their personalities. Because there's guys that I don't think fans, for one, we knew early on Fabiano was funny. For one, he was scared of everything.
Yeah.
And then he started to learn English and we went, holy shit, he's really funny. Like,
he is
it
really
can do
fun.
so much. And you know who I think, tell me if I'm wrong, you know who I think is sneaky, like funny, sly is Denner Barbosa.
Danner is. He's real quiet, but he picks on everybody. He's just always doing stuff, and he creates those mimics in sand, like Spider-Man. He picks on Spider-Man a lot.
Spider-Man.
He gets those big muscular guys with the thong, or just those bodybuilders. They have to do the picture and put Spider-Man's hat on top of them and post it on their group message stuff, and just put his hat on a women's body. It's pretty fun.
And Mauricio learned English fast. Another one of those guys. Anyway,
I think those guys are good. They have to. That's something they need to.
Yeah,
and it's going to help them a lot.
You mentioned your son, John. John is the reigning, the defending champion, national high school rodeo bull riding champion. He won it last year. You're currently, as this airs, you are in Gillette, Wyoming, watching him. He was young. He's not very big still. Was he just
15? He was a freshman. 15 years old. Yes, sir.
What does he do as a bull rider? You're his dad, but watching him, when you watch him, what does he do that really is special that you think? What stands out and makes him great?
His passion for the bulls, and he's able, since he was a baby, like just riding sheeps and calves, and now it stands out more because he's riding, those bigger bulls, but he makes moves and corrections on bulls. He's too young to make those. It's so natural, like just recoveries or adjustments or something he does. He amazes me because he shouldn't be doing that just yet. It's just like when you watch, I can see all that in slow motion, and I watch him ride, and I can just see the little details. Correction, spurring, and aggressive, and knowing focus, and knowing what he needs to be in that particular ride. And the other day, he won last Monday, 4th of July. I took him to Fort Worth. He won he was the only guy to stay on. He won the event. But this little bull, Corey Melton's bull, just went around in his hand and tried to pull him down inside the well. And any other person probably would have bucked off because he was leaning forward, I can see he was fighting to get out. But then all of a sudden, in the first jump, he just got his arm outside and start leaning his body, putting his weight on opposite, and just to make it, the ride. And all of a sudden, he just stood up and sat like nothing was even happening. And I thought it's too much for a kid, 16-year-old kid to know. It kind of amazes me. It's just his passion for it it's amazing.
Well, he was completely. There's a difference between learning it fresh when you're 15 and every bit of his life he was watching the greatest bull riders in the world. I remember him when he was this big around there, and it really, you just take it all in without really even realizing.
That's it. That's it. Because like everything, when he was a baby, the first scar he has was in Las Vegas at the hotel room. He hit his forehead in the table, like a glass table in the hotel at Mandalay Bay, and that's a little forehead. And Tandy just stitched him over there, put those fake stitches on him, and that's his first scar. And everything he did was about riding bulls. Like he sat on a dog and pretend he was riding the bull. He sat on the couch and he pretended like the couch arm and pretend he was riding the bull. And that was his world, and he always been. And he plays football like receiver, receiver and linebacker or something
Yeah,
like that.
sure.
And he's really good. And they want to start him at the varsity team, bump him up, but he cannot. He don't want to play on Fridays because he wants to bull ride, and that's his
Yeah.
deal. It's say, Daddy, that's what I want to do, and I've been trying to get him to college and go to college because I never have that, and I want him to have it. And he'd say, Daddy, I got to go. He just told me the other day, and he didn't told it to me neither. He told it to Andre during the interview at Jose Lamy's house after they get on some boots for practicing. And he told Andre, I'd say, I just want to be the youngest world champion at the PBR in the rookie of the year on my 18th year. And he thinks he don't want nothing to get in his way from doing that. It's really interesting how focused he is and how much he loves.
He'd fit good 1 year at Montana State University at the rodeo team. I mean, I'm just saying, if he needs some
That's what I say. Hey, I might need some help with that, Flint. I need some as much help I can because I really want him to have that because I never have a chance to do. I have to work when I was 7 years old, and I just went to sixth grade, and I finished sixth grade when I was 18 almost because I was riding in Bajetos when I was finished.
Hey, by the way, tell me real quick here. I don't want to keep you all day, but what is your, most of the guys I kind of ask, I don't think I've ever asked you, what was your upbringing in Brazil? What, were you on a ranch? Were you a city kid? Were you come from nothing? What was your childhood in Brazil?
I grew up in a village, I'll start working. I was 7 years old. Until I was 15 years old, I have one pair of jeans to wear, and just coming from nothing. But I went to some bad ways. A guy kind of put me in a bad way for a while, and the bull riding kind of got me straight back on. This is what I love, bull riding so much, and I think any sport, when you love it and do it for the love, not for the money, it can change your life and can change everybody's. But I never have anything, at all. And bull riding gave me, everything I got and who I am. Injury took the majority of them away. But, I'm happy. I got a beautiful family, and I'm so thankful for the PBR, and that's what brought me over here, and still does. A bunch of younger guys, talent and stuff, and they're able to change their lives like they did on mine.
That sounds like a good way to good conversation ender right there. Listen, I'm going to let you go, but I do want to tell you, and I try at the end of these to kind of tell people something. And you and I think there's Brazilian riders, there's riders that come and go, and I'm friendly with them. And hey, man, and I'll tell people, yeah, he's my friend. You and I, when I see you, you're one of those guys. I consider you a very good friend, and I hope that's okay. There is a history there. I was starting in the PBR. You were starting. We kind of grew up and we danced and did all that stuff, and it meant a lot to me. It was great.
To me, Flint, it's not just okay. It's an honor to have, consider you and knowing you consider me as your friend, because I respect you and I consider you the same way. And you're probably it's the greatest, and it's not going to be another one like you, and they can try. And I'm sorry, I'm just telling the truth. And it's just like we see when I watch you start from my beginning, and at the PRCA, you're there every moment, all the special moments of my life, and you're part of them. Every picture I see or every ride I see, you're in it. You're just sharing that moment, and the most special moments of my life, you're part of them. And that means a lot to me, and it's a great honor to have you as a friend, and know you feel the same way for me.
Well, thanks for your time, buddy. This has been great. Appreciate you.
Anytime, brother. I mean, we can sit here and talk all day.
Yeah, we could. Thanks, man.
Yes, sir. You have a blessed day, okay?
Yep.